had fundraisers outside, which wasn't all that crazy, but we actually had a fundraiser inside Lyman that the guys inside, it was their idea to have one for the staff. So we did a fundraiser for the staff because the offenders actually had a better gym than the staff. And they were training the staff. Eric and John and some other guys were training a bunch of the COs and case managers and stuff in CrossFit. And not all of them can get into the offender gym. A lot of them do work out the offenders, but some of them, just because of their schedules, can't. So we had 30 teams where we had an outsider paired up with an insider, and some of those outsiders were COs paired up with offenders, and paid registration and got corporate sponsors, Rep Fitness and a couple of CrossFit gyms, MOB and Bladium donated equipment for the event and raised a bunch of money. And we've taken some equipment out there already, and we're still in the process of buying more there. But it was really neat to see like the offenders having the idea to help the staff, and the staff working out with the offenders and the community, and people paying to come in. And we got through all this security stuff to have this fundraiser inside a prison, which, as far as I know, that's the first time that's ever happened. You know, there's been lots of CrossFit inside a prison, which is neat, but an actual like, hey, pay and get a t-shirt and go through security and give us your security clearance info and come work out in a prison.
No, that's awesome. So Eric, can you walk me through, like, you know, I know what a class looks like in my box I have right now, but what does a class look like from inside the prison?
Yeah. So basically what we do is we take, we have at Lyman, we had a class that runs at the same time every night. And each of those classes runs for a specific unit. So we started off with John and Brandon and Trevor and Damien as coaches, and basically we had a class of about 20 people. And what we just did was we started with a foundations class. So that's 2 weeks of, you just have to learn the motions and you just have to learn what CrossFit is. And we started off just in the incentive unit, which is basically like the best unit. So Lyman's is a max security facility. Most of the people at Lyman are doing life or pretty close to it. And the guys who aren't doing life are there because they've been kicking up so much dust every place else that they can't put them anyplace else. So the incentive unit's the best place there, but it's still full of dudes who are doing forever. And so a lot of people were pretty skeptical about it. So they gave us a pretty small class to start with. But right away, everybody recognized that there was definitely something different about it. And it's just because in normal prison workout, you work out with 2 or 3 dudes who look just like you, who talk just like you, who rep the same game that you rep. And you don't work out with people who are not your race. You don't work out with people who are not from your gang. You don't work out with people, you know, basically even people from your own race who don't talk like you. And so everything in prison is like 1950s America. So there's like these huge fault lines between humans, and CrossFit, we don't do that. So the first class, you know, it's everybody there. And the first thing that we do is tell them, like, we're all going to be working out together. You're going to be working out with a dude that you don't like from a race that you may not know, a gang that you may not know, who has a case that you may not like. But what we're going to do is we're going to work out together, and we're going to pick each other up off the floor when we get blasted. And so we just kind of start doing that, and everybody bought in, because, you know, a lot of times what it is people are just following the rules because they want to get along, right? That's why people do a lot of the stuff that they do there. It's not because they like truly believe that they need to be segregated or anything like that. They don't want to get punched in the face, so they just do it. So I think a lot of people were very grateful for the opportunity to just be able to live the way that they want to live and hang out with who they want to hang out with. And you know, when you're powerlifting or anything like that, there's not like shared struggle, right? It's like you're both just lifting. You're like, yeah, I'm huge. Yeah, you're also huge, or whatever. And but like we did FRAN the first time, and it just blasted.
The name of the show, right?
Yeah, just blasted. And like, you know how it is. Everybody's laid out on the ground. Like, what the hell just happened? And you're laid out next to 2 or 3 people who you've probably never talked to before, and they were cheering you on or, you know, competing against you. And then afterwards we started seeing connections built between them. So while we were running a foundations class and showing people how to work out, because most people have never had formal training in any of that stuff, while we're doing that, we're also teaching accountability and community. And, you know, we found out that people are super hungry for that. And as soon as the staff at the facility started really seeing like, wow, this is something completely different, then they started giving us other units. So first they gave us the 2 medium units, which is 4 and 5. And then we started running a class for those guys. And once that started looking great, at some point in time, they were like, well, let's try it. So they let us use closed custody units, which are basically their trouble units. And actually, those are our best units. Like those guys, you know, it's like, so those guys just have a ton of energy and a ton of like they just didn't have the direction, right? Like they've just been told most of their life that this is the way that it is. You show up in prison and it's your job not to get caught. It's the cop's job to catch you and do what the hell you want. And then they, you know, there's at that point in time 10 trainers, and all of us are in good shape. All of us are capable, you know, men, and we're not scared of stuff, but we're also not repping that game. And so once we're telling them that's not how we're going to do things here, and we're going to hold you accountable, if you mess up, you're gone, and we're going to be the ones that kick you out, not the cops. That really resonated with a lot of them. And those guys were like, well, I'm just going to put my energy towards this then. And so we actually started seeing a whole bunch of guys show up in church, drop out of their gangs. We saw guys, we started an addiction recovery program, Trevor and I did, that basically made it so that guys who were fresh off of getting a hot UA or getting busted with drugs could get into our program, and we would just like hardcore mentor them and make them go to AA and do all these other things. And that program's at least as big as the regular CrossFit program itself, just because that's a huge problem there. So, you know, but really, honestly, like once it gets going, a CrossFit class looks in our gym exactly like it looks in another gym. There's just way more people in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, your average CrossFit box probably has like 1 trainer talking, and between like 8 and 20 people in the class probably. At our box, we have 10 trainers who are CFL2s, and probably, I want to say like 9 more who are CFL1s. And then most of our volunteers are CFL1s also. Like Liz and Aaron and Brittany and Carla are all CFL1s. And so they're out there, they're training also. Like they're not out there just like, oh, what do I do? Like they're trainers. They show up like, all right, this is how you do it clean. Yeah. So it's just that we have 60 people in our class a lot of times. So what we do is because we have limited equipment, we break the class down. So a lot of times we have 2 classes happening, and what we'll do is we'll split the workout into like one side is tech work, and then the other side is the WOD. And then that runs for, let's call it a half an hour, and then we'll switch those. We do like a group warm up and a group cool down, but the class often operates that way, unless, you know, if some of the smaller classes, we just operate like a regular box. But, you know, it helps to have that many people as trainers there, because we're not just showing people how to work out, we're showing people how to live. And so a lot of people need individual, I don't know about training, but individual mentorship. Like they need to know that when they show up to class, this one guy is going to be there, and that guy is going to walk around with them. And a lot of these guys just have never really been affiliated with accountability in a way that we do it, right? So like a gang or prison has an accountability, but it's totally violence based. And it's basically just like, if you do A, I kick your ass. If you do B, I kick your ass. If you do C, me and these 3 other dudes kick your ass.
Yeah.
So, right, like it's just like that's what's happening. But in ours, it's like, look, I want you to do right. If you don't, I'm going to talk to you about it, and then I'm going to show you how to do right again, and then we're going to do right together. And that's because that's very foreign to people. It takes a while to ingrain that in a lot of guys. But we've never really found too many people who don't want that. Like men want accountability. A lot of them don't know how to get it and don't know how to take it.